Hey everybody, you're listening to a brand spanking new episode of Superheroes Movies and Superhero Movies. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm John Pelzo.
And today we're talking about Ant-Man, released in 2015, directed by Peyton Reed, written by Edgar Wright, Joe Cornish, Adam McKay, and Paul Rudd, from a story by Edgar Wright and Joe Cornish, starring Paul Rudd, Michael Douglas, Corey Stoll, Evangeline Lilly, Bobby Cannavale, Anthony Mackie, Judy Greer, Michael Pena, the amazing Michael Pena, David Dastmalchian, T.I. That's about it for the main cast, I think. Like I said, this was released in 2015, and it was it was part of Marvel's Phase
2?
Or is it the beginning of Phase 3? Did Phase 2 end with Avengers Age of Ultron? And then Phase 3 ends with Avengers Infinity War?
I guess.
So I think it was the very beginning of Phase 3. Iron Man 3 would be Phase 2. Thor 2. Captain America Winter Soldier was Phase 2.
Right.
Guardians of the Galaxy, I think,
right.
was Phase 2. And then Avengers 2. And then we get Ant-Man and then Civil War, of course, and all that. So yeah, the beginning of Phase 3 for Marvel.
And now we have Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That's Phase 3, so...
Before we get started, just wanted to say if you want to get in touch with us, which we welcome, you can reach us always at our website, www.cinemaheroes.com. In fact, this episode was actually was a request by somebody who commented on our website, Max Ellis. So I know we've also gotten some requests for some other movies, which we are going to do. I believe our next superhero film is a request, so be on the lookout for that in a few weeks. But anyway, you can also comment on Facebook.com/SM and SM Podcast, or you can tweet at us on Twitter at Cinema Heroes. So yeah.
Yeah. This is my first time seeing this movie.
Yep.
And from what I'd heard, it was really good, and I didn't disagree with that.
Yeah, it was, something we'll talk about here in a second, but Peyton Reed, the director, was brought in a little later. Originally, the movie was supposed to be directed by Edgar Wright. And so when Edgar Wright left and they brought on Peyton Reed, my kind of expectations of it went down a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then even seeing the preview, I thought the preview looked good, but I don't remember being super wowed by it.
So did Peyton Reed direct? He did the whole movie, right? Edgar Wright didn't.
Yeah, Edgar Wright left before shooting began, I believe. And Peyton Reed, looking at Peyton Reed's filmography, the movie he directed before Ant-Man, the last movie he directed before Ant-Man was Jim Carrey's Yes Man, which was fine. It was funny.
I didn't see it.
And then before that, he did The Breakup with Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston, which was also funny.
I've seen parts of that. I stopped watching Jim Carrey movies.
Yeah.
Pretty much after Liar Liar.
Oh, wow.
Which, yeah. Well, I saw, Bruce Almighty, but, Liar Liar was, I thought, amazing. And then Bruce Almighty, I didn't think was that funny at the time. Mm-hmm. And everyone was talking about how good it was. And going back now, being a Jim Carrey fan, I think that, he was good in that role. And it was a typical Jim Carrey movie. But because it was the first time I think I had seen him take a step down, that I didn't really watch any more of his films. Now, if an Ace Ventura 3 had come out, I would have been there in the theater.
So when you saw Liar Liar, you thought he can do no better than this, and just decided not to see.
Well, I thought he could do better because he kept going up. Of course, Dumb and Dumber is my favorite comedy of all time, so Liar Liar came out after that, and it wasn't as good. But at the same time, Liar Liar was just at the time so just bam hilarious,
right?
That
when you said take a step down, you mean in quality?
I just didn't think it was as funny as Liar Liar.
I gotcha.
So, and I've seen, he did Eternal Sunshine.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Not comedy, though. I mean, well, you have comedy in
comedy,
it.
Yeah,
but it's
elements
not Jim Carrey comedy.
Right.
I didn't mean to go on the Jim Carrey thing.
No, it's fine.
But
I'm curious because I'm trying to think of other Jim Carrey movies that have come out since Bruce Almighty, even, and
that's what I'm saying. He really didn't do any more Jim Carrey. Like he did, what was it, Dick and Jane?
Yeah, I never saw that.
I didn't see that. Of course, he did The Truman Show, which was in the Jim Carrey comedy era. And that
was also more of kind of, it was a comedy, but it was also his first kind of foray into drama.
Oh, I view that way more of a drama than a comedy.
Right.
And that's like probably one of my top 100 favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
And I would say Eternal Sunshine is too.
Looking at his Jim Carrey's list here, Man on the Moon in '99, I loved that movie when it came out. And then Me, Myself, and Irene in 2000, that was really funny.
Man on the Moon, I liked.
Yeah.
Me, Myself, and Irene, I saw in the theater, and knowing that it was a Farrelly Brothers movie, was hoping for another Dumb and Dumber, and I didn't get that.
Yeah,
and it kind of killed it for me. And I hadn't seen there's Something About Mary, which I thought was a better movie than Me, Myself, and Irene. But I've only seen Me, Myself, and Irene once, so I'm wondering if I watch it without the expectation, I would enjoy it better.
There's Something About Mary is one of those movies that I forget how good it is, and then whenever I decide to kind of sit down and rewatch it just because I'm bored or whatever, I am amazed at how good it is.
I need to rewatch it because I think I've only seen it all the way through one time.
Yeah, you should definitely rewatch it because it's been a while since I've seen it, but the last time I watched it, I just remember thinking this is a really good movie. So yeah, you should check that out. So looking at his list again, I don't know why we're talking about Jim Carrey, but he did Bruce Almighty in 2003, and then other than Eternal Sunshine, he hasn't really done any, I guess you could say typical. Eternal Sunshine doesn't count as this, but he hasn't done a typical. He directed
Eternal Sunshine?
No. I'm talking about Jim. I'm just talking about Jim Carrey.
Okay, okay.
I was trying to see if he'd done any kind of typical Jim Carrey movies since Bruce Almighty, and other than Fun with Dick and Jane and Yes Man. I Love You, Philip Morris was funny, but it's also it's different. And he did Dumb and Dumber 2 a couple years ago.
What'd you think of that?
Not nearly as good as the original, of course. But there were a couple of moments that I laughed out loud.
I agree. It was weird because I'd heard all these bad things about it, and I actually watched it for the first time. It's now August, what are we on, 8th?
Yeah.
Of 2017. So it came out a little while ago. I saw it for the first time literally probably a week ago.
Oh, wow.
And though it wasn't even close to as good as Dumb and Dumber, from what I had heard about how just pointless it was, thought that the writing was pretty okay for a 20 year later sequel. Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's amazing how we keep getting sequels that are 20 years after the fact.
Well, I think at a point when people would talk about that when we first started getting those sequels. You're like, oh, they're doing a sequel 20 years? Well, when you do enough of them, people start thinking, oh, it's been 20 years, we need to do a sequel.
Right.
So
I guess it's better than a remake, maybe, but at the same time...
It depends.
Yeah, I guess it depends. I obviously wouldn't want them to remake Dumb and Dumber. That would just be terrible.
Right.
So, let's do a sequel, but at the same time, do you need a sequel to Dumb and Dumber?
The most important remake we had recently, which we won't talk about because I'm sure we'll do a podcast on it, is Ghostbusters.
That would be an interesting one to talk about. We've talked about the original Ghostbusters, right?
We did, and we need to do 2, I think, before this new one.
Yeah, probably.
But
that would be interesting to talk about. So anyway, getting back to Ant-Man. So Peyton Reed was brought in as director, and you look at Peyton Reed's filmography, and you think he wouldn't be my first choice. I'll just say that, to be the director of the new superhero film. The guy who did The Breakup and then Yes Man. Yeah, let's sign him up to do a Marvel movie.
Right.
That's
a good point.
So my expectations went down once Edgar Wright left. My expectations were really high with Edgar Wright directing it, and then when he left, I thought, this is not going to be a good movie. That's I guess getting ahead of myself to think that way. But if Edgar Wright decided he couldn't work with Marvel or whatever and decided to leave, I thought there must be problems or something. And then the movie came out, and I went and saw it, and I loved it. I thought it was awesome. And I feel like you can still feel, especially since he's got writing credit on it, I feel like you can definitely still feel Edgar Wright's presence on the film.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Like I haven't seen what's the third one?
The World's End.
The World's End.
Yeah.
I've not seen that, but I've seen Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and those movies are amazing.
Yeah. Edgar Wright is easily one of my favorite directors. I mean, I have probably a fairly long list of favorite directors, but I mean, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, The World's End. He did Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which if you haven't seen that,
I've not seen
oh
that.
that movie is incredible. You will love that movie too because you're a video game person.
Sweet.
And then most recently, he did Baby Driver, which is currently in theaters and is also amazing, and takes place in Atlanta, actually.
Is it about a baby driving?
It's about a.
That's exactly like I saw the picture of like you have Boss Baby, and I'm
Right.
this is the sequel, Baby Driver.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Yes. No, nothing like that at all. It's character's name is Baby, but he is a getaway driver.
Okay.
Kevin Spacey's in it too, along with Jamie Foxx and John Hamm. Some good. I mean, Edgar Wright. Pretty much now, it's gotten to the point now where if Edgar Wright puts out a movie, I'll go see it. Like it doesn't matter what it is, really. I'll go see it.
The likelihood of that changing over time is very high.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean,
It
obviously,
happens with a lot of directors. You know, like that. I would have said that for several directors that have kind of. I'm not going to say anyone, but
I'll give you one.
Okay.
Who used to be obviously my favorite director has changed over the years, but for a while, Robert Rodriguez was my favorite director.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I was kind of drawn to Robert Rodriguez is because he does everything himself, which I really liked at the time. Because at the time, I was kind of wanting to go into filmmaking, and I think it was just looking back on it, maybe you could consider it fear. But I like the idea of being able to do everything myself, which I was like, if Robert Rodriguez can do it, if Robert Rodriguez can do it, I'll do it, you know?
Right.
I'll write it, I'll direct it, I'll shoot it, you know, whatever. Which is a lot harder than you think. So I give him, respect for that. But the quality of his films, I think, has gone down over the years. And I think it's actually because he does everything himself. And he's not getting some of that creative input, perhaps, from other people. And so... yeah, the last few movies of his, I'll still go see Robert Rodriguez movies. I haven't seen some of the. I think the last kids movie he did was that movie Shorts or whatever, and I just didn't even bother to see it because it looked really bad.
haven't even heard of it.
Yeah, it's probably not worth watching. I mean, I don't know for a fact because I never saw it, but
It sounds like no one else did either. So.
you might be right. But he did Machete Kills, and
Oh yeah, I haven't seen any. Of
I
those.
didn't-
That's typical Robert Rodriguez stuff.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of got into doing that because of Planet Terror, with Grindhouse,
right.
which I
That's
love.
What it
Grindhouse.
reminds me of. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Grindhouse was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in the theater. And then Machete comes out, and I went. Actually, I don't know if I got to see Machete in the theater, but I watched Machete, and I liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked it. And then Machete Kills, I went and saw in the theater, and I didn't really care for it. And part of it was because I could feel all the shortcuts he was taking because of him just thinking that, like, one of his things, like, he used to do this thing on his movies on DVD that I thought was cool, which was this 6-minute film school type thing, you know? And he would show you a lot of these, like, different shortcuts he would take for people on a budget or, you know, whatever. And he used to say that he doesn't like the idea of throwing money at a problem. He'd rather figure out, like, a creative way to fix a problem, which was cool, like, on his very first film, El Mariachi, where he had, like, no money. So he couldn't afford to spend any money to throw on a problem. But now he kind of gets around it by doing computer effects. Right. And there's one scene in particular I remember from Machete Kills where, like, it was just so obvious that the two actors were not there on the same day. And it just stood out to me a lot. And it really took me out of it. So, I mean, there's other problems I think I had with Machete Kills. So that was one. And then Sin City 2 came out, and I really loved the first Sin City, and I just didn't think the second one was all that great.
I haven't seen it. Sounds like I don't need to.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe I would say Sin City is probably worth seeing more over Machete Kills. But
Sin City 2.
Yeah. But I don't know. So Robert Rodriguez is still a fan, but that's an example of a director who I used to love and now just kind of think is all right.
Someone that I don't want to go too far off, but someone that I'm still surprised. Now, granted, I technically haven't seen his last 2 films, I guess. But Quentin Tarantino.
Oh yeah.
And they're kind of, they've got a major tie.
Yeah.
But like I've seen half of Django Unchained, and then the only movie he's had since then is
The Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, which I have not seen.
Yeah.
But I've seen all his other ones, and it's just ridiculous how every time he nails it. And he kind of strikes me as the guy that probably, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but he just kind of strikes me as the guy that wouldn't really take advice except his own.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And somehow he just continues to keep nailing it.
Yeah. He is, yeah, I mean, he's a rare breed, I guess, because
Absolutely.
He's one of those guys where I don't know if I'd ever really want to meet him, because I have a feeling he would come across as like just super cocky, and I just don't know.
Think about how many people probably bother him too,
Right,
like
I'm
every
sure,
day.
yeah.
He's like, gotta be sick of that.
Right. But even like if I could have just like if it was like an interview or something, I just don't know. It's one of those things where maybe he'd be cool, but maybe he would come across as a jerk. I don't know. But his movies are incredible, and I like Django Unchained a lot. But The Hateful Eight, I love The Hateful Eight. But I'm also a big fan of dialogue-heavy movies, and that's a dialogue-heavy movie.
Yeah, it pretty much takes place in that shack, right?
Pretty much. I mean, there's like...
It's kind of like Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. I would say the first 20 minutes to maybe a half hour of the movie actually kind of take place on a wagon, a coach or whatever, the horse-drawn wagon or whatever. And then once they get to the cabin, yeah, the rest of the movie takes place at the cabin, basically. So... it's a long movie. I think it's like 2 hours and 40. No, maybe it's a little shorter. Django was 2 hours and 45 minutes, so maybe it's like 2.5 hours. I can't remember exactly. It might be 2 hours and 40 minutes. I don't know. All of his movies are long nowadays, but it was really good. I went and saw that one a couple of times in the theater.
Nice.
I liked it a lot.
Nice. Well, you just bumped it up higher on my to-view list.
Yeah.
We should get back to Ant-Man.
Yeah, we probably should. Otherwise, this will be a long episode. So anyway, that point of that whole long story, I guess, was the fact that I saw Ant-Man in the theater, and I actually really enjoyed it. The end. Join us next week for...
Yeah, well, like I said, this is my first time. I actually saw Civil War in the theater, and not this, so I had...
So you kind of got a little spoiled... I mean, not spoiled, but...
Yeah, it was just like, I didn't know how to take it. But I thought they did a really good job in Civil War of kind of introducing people that hadn't seen Ant-Man to the character, but not taking up too much time in the film.
Right.
But this, was a good way to... obviously, the main story of who he was, and I felt like it meshed pretty well.
Yeah. Speaking of... introducing characters, or not introducing characters, but bringing in characters and then not spending too much time on them in case people haven't seen Ant-Man or something. I'm really curious as to how Avengers Infinity War is going to deal with that, because they're going to have everyone basically. Yeah, I mean, Doctor Strange is supposed to be in
crazy.
It. Ant-Man, Spider-Man.
Did you see the
Guardians?
Did you see the footage for it?
I did not. The Comic-Con footage? No. Was it like from off a phone or something?
Yeah, but it wasn't that bad.
Was it?
I
haven't seen it.
Just when you watch it, it really hits home as to everyone in this universe is in this trailer. Like, not just the movie, but they're in the... it was...
I'm assuming we'll get a trailer for it.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't a trailer.
Yeah, it was... Well, it was just footage, I guess, right? But I'm assuming we'll get a trailer for it in front of...
It was kind of like a trailer, but... Yeah, I would imagine.
I would hope so, because it's supposed to come out next summer, right?
Yeah, I would. I would say you'll get your first trailer there,
or it'll be like a Thor.
When's Thor come out?
November.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think
unless it comes out before that, I doubt it would be. I doubt they'd skip over Thor if they hadn't released it to that point.
Yeah, I don't know when. Yeah, I don't know what movie they would attach it to, because usually, I mean, nowadays with the internet, they don't have to necessarily attach it to a movie,
right?
But a lot of times they come out around the same time another movie is being released or something.
Yeah, they typically still, even though it doesn't have to be attached,
right?
They usually do.
Right. So I feel like the smart thing to do would be attach it to Thor. So yeah.
And why not? It's kind of like a celebration.
Right,
of,
exactly.
Hey, you're getting ready to watch Thor. By the way, here's the new Avengers trailer.
One of the things about, and Ant-Man actually kind of did this. You didn't watch it because I told you about it, since you'd technically already seen it. But Marvel. We were talking about Marvel having the post-credit scenes, being kind of about nothing nowadays. Mm-hmm. Like the Spider-Man Homecoming,
Which
post-credit
the
scene.
more I think about it, I think is amazing.
Yeah, it's funny, but it's not like a tease of what's to come or anything like that.
No, it was a total troll.
Right.
Yeah.
And at the end of the Avengers, the end of Captain America, the first Avenger, we had the teaser trailer for the Avengers. It was the post-credit scene, was like the actual teaser trailer. So I'm kind of hoping that's what Thor Ragnarok does. If they don't put a trailer out ahead of time, like before the movie, that the post-credit scene is a glimpse of Avengers Infinity War. That's my hope anyway. Because I remember seeing that little small, however many seconds it was, teaser.
I mean, what else are they going to...
got me so excited.
I can't imagine them that being... Because that's the next movie, right?
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. Thor comes out in November. I'm trying to think of what... It might be Avengers is the next one.
Black Panther, maybe? Does that come out before?
Black Panther does come out, but I don't know when. Let's look that up real quick.
We already have a trailer for that, so I think that probably comes out before it.
Yeah, you might be right. Let's see. Black Panther is next year. It says it's expected in February, so yeah, I believe it would be before. And then Avengers Infinity War is supposed to come out in May. So yeah.
See, I bet there's a very high chance of us getting some kind of Black Panther
teaser
as well.
Well, I think...
Not a teaser, but like an end credit thing, because people are going to stay for it.
Right.
They're at Thor, and they need to, kind of market their next movie. Everyone's going to go see Avengers.
Right.
Don't forget about, Black Panther.
That's what I would think, but they haven't been doing that lately. Lately, they've just been these post-credit scenes that are about nothing, really. So,
but what have they had to propel, like it's Thor 3.
Right.
People are going to go see it. But, Black Panther's never had his movie before.
Right.
And let's remind people, hey, he's getting his own movie. So I would imagine there's a good chance. It'd be kind of hard to do, though. I was going to say some kind of Black Panther maybe cameo in Thor 3. But that would be kind of weird.
I don't think that would work. Yeah. I don't... It might feel weird to see... Because Thor 3 seems to take place, not on Earth, obviously.
Right.
So to then have a post-credits...
really awesome because I was like... I remember Age of Ultron, seeing Hulk flying away. I was like, are they going to do Planet Hulk?
Right.
And then to see that they're doing it with Thor is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Because it would have been cool to get a Hulk 3.
Yeah.
But...
Technically, it would have been a Hulk 2 because the first Hulk... The Eric Bana Hulk isn't part of the Marvel universe.
You're right.
It's the Edward Norton one.
It is, but didn't they use one of the same? Like the General's the same actor, isn't it? Like
not the General in the Eric Bana Hulk is Sam Elliott, and the General in the Edward Norton Hulk is William Hurt, who was in Civil War.
Okay,
so it's the same General from Incredible Hulk, but not Hulk.
I was thinking that they had transitioned a character from Eric Bana's Hulk to... Okay.
Nope.
Gotcha.
So it would be Hulk 2, but I don't think they're going to do it. I don't think Hulk's going to get his own movie.
This is Planet Hulk, and I don't know what else you'd really do with... Because, after Avengers 3, there's not really, in my opinion, a reason to continue the universe.
Right. I think...
Which is going to suck, man. That's like right around the corner.
I know. Well, I think the Marvel universe is just going to become... the Marvel Cinematic Universe is going to become a lot different. It's because I don't think we're going to have Iron Man or Captain America.
Right. You're going to have Spider-Man.
We'll have Spider-Man for a little while. Mm-hmm. We'll have the Guardians still for a little while. And we'll have Black Panther and Ant-Man probably for a little while. But yeah, the main kind of characters, and Hulk most likely, are going to be gone.
Right.
So, but as much as I love the Incredible Hulk, I do think he works better as kind of a supporting character in these Avengers movies or in Thor than having his own movie. I like the Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton, but...
Yeah, and the story of the Hulk's really cool.
Yeah.
But I agree we haven't done the Hulk.
We haven't. We were going to do Hulk, and I watched that movie, and spoiler alert, thought it was awful. I used to like it a lot. I used to like it. I saw it in the theater like a couple of times just because, like I said, I'm an Incredible Hulk fan. And so I was kind of excited about doing a Hulk episode, and for whatever reason we ended up not doing it. But I sat through that whole movie and I was just like, wow, this movie's bad. So I'm not really looking forward to doing that movie because I'll have to rewatch it again, and I'm not looking forward to that. But anyway, so Ant-Man.
Yeah, I was going to say we have gone a little while with barely talking about Ant-Man. We've talked about the director,
and that's about it.
That's about it. So let me say, I have never read anything Ant-Man. I didn't know anything about Ant-Man except that he was small.
Yeah, I haven't read anything about Ant-Man either. I knew who Ant-Man was.
I actually didn't even know that he shrank.
Oh, wow.
Like, I thought he was that size all the time.
He was always getting left behind. I knew who Ant-Man was, and I knew the name Hank Pym, and I knew that Hank Pym was Ant-Man, and I knew that at some point he became Giant Man. But I didn't know anything about it, really.
Do they actually call him Giant Man?
I think so, yeah. When he's big like that, yeah. Obviously, they don't call him Giant Man when he's small, unless it's ironic. I guess.
Well, I was thinking maybe they called him Ant-Man when he's big.
As like calling a tall guy tiny.
No, because that's his name.
That would make sense, I guess. So anyway, going into the film, I didn't know a whole lot, and I knew that just based on movie news and stuff like that, that Michael Douglas was playing Hank Pym, but Paul Rudd was playing Scott Lang. And that's another thing I didn't know about Ant-Man, was that I didn't even know there were other Ant-Men, I guess. So, finding out that Paul Rudd was not playing Hank Pym, but playing... speaking of Hank Pym in the comics is the guy that created Ultron.
Oh, yeah, I think I knew that. That's
yeah,
right.
So they had to change that, obviously, because Age of Ultron came out before Ant-Man. But anyway, so when they announced that Michael Douglas was playing Hank Pym and Paul Rudd was playing Scott Lang, that was kind of news to me. I didn't even know that Scott Lang existed, to be honest with you. But Paul Rudd, I thought, was awesome casting. I've always kind of liked Paul Rudd. I thought he was good in pretty much everything he's done.
Yeah, I liked him.
And
he's got charisma.
Absolutely.
And I like how I don't like it always makes me nervous to take this route, but both with Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man, they kind of did the let's take this, lightheartedly.
Right.
And it worked both times. So dangerous to do, in my opinion. Especially with sequels.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you that doing I would consider this, it's on my DVD, something about me is I have my DVDs / Blu-rays organized alphabetically by genre. So Ant-Man goes into the action section because that's really pretty much where all the superhero movies go. But I would almost consider it a comedy. It's a comedy action.
It is. I would agree, though. I would put it in the action because it goes with the superheroes. And there was, a lot of
action.
There was a lot of action, and it balanced. Like, it was a comedy, but it was a comedy superhero movie.
Right. But not like a farce, which was...
Right.
Right. So, like, it wasn't Meteor Man.
Right,
which
right.
I actually really liked when I was a kid.
I've never seen that. That'll have to go on our list.
Yeah, it should actually. I'd have to find it. That could be hard. But anyway, yeah, so that was another... I think that might have been another reason why I was a little nervous about Peyton Reed directing it, because Edgar Wright knows how to... Obviously, with Hot Fuzz, he knows how to balance comedy and action.
And Shaun of the Dead, that had plenty of action,
absolutely.
too.
So when Peyton Reed joined and looking at his past movies, he did comedy. So it felt like it was going to be just a comedy.
Well, I mentioned to you that I felt like I didn't like the directing.
You did, yeah.
But I liked the movie. It was weird. I was like, the movie's really good, but the directing, there's something about it, and that's actually exactly what I was thinking. I felt like whoever's directing this movie, as far as the scenes go of the interaction between characters, is not really directing the action scenes. To me, and it could have been, and this is why I said it might not be the director's fault, is because I don't know how big of a budget Ant-Man got, and it felt to me like a lot of the production quality of the non-action scenes was kind of cheap.
It could be, maybe it is just the way he shot it and stuff. Maybe it felt.
That's why I said,
cheap
you
to
know, originally I mentioned that I felt like I didn't like the directing, and it could very well just be that I didn't like his shots and stuff. Like,
Right.
there was a shot with what's the name of Yellow Jacket?
The actor's name or
No, the character.
Darren Cross,
Yes,
I believe.
Darren Cross. So he's like in a car,
Yeah.
and like it's raining and stuff, and it just looked so bad. Like they had the shot of the windshield; they were shooting through the windshield,
Yeah.
but like you could see a glare, and like it just looked like almost amateurish. And like I said, you know, I don't know if it's the budget or just the director just
Right.
isn't good at picking out that stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know Peyton Reed's style by any means. It does make you wonder, though.
I felt like there was a lot of lag in the acting too. Like, you know, like watching, there were certain scenes with Michael Douglas that
Yeah.
I was like, you know, he's doing a good job here. But there were other scenes where I was like, I felt like the director could have not been satisfied with that take and kind of been like, I need a little more from you here. And maybe it's because of Michael Douglas.
Right, and he was just like, perfect.
Right. I don't know.
Oscar winner Michael Douglas.
I don't know.
I don't know either. And what I was going to say was it makes you wonder, too, how much input this director, or maybe directors in general, have over some of these CGI-heavy action scenes.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think... it depends.
Yeah.
You know, like, for instance, Zack Snyder, I'm sure is in there.
Right, yeah.
But, like, this guy, let me say his name.
This guy.
What's his name?
Peyton Reed.
But Peyton Reed, you know, he's probably like, that's not my thing. You know, I'm here to direct the comedy and the character interaction. But when you have trains flipping, I don't care. You know, make it look good.
Right, right.
That's
yeah.
just kind of my guess.
That's, I mean, without talking to him, obviously we'll never really know
Right.
for sure. But I mean, I could definitely see that. I mean, I could see. I mean, Peyton Reed is a working film director, and I have directed a short film. You know, it's like I can't really compare myself. But
Sure.
But thinking about myself, I wouldn't know how to direct an action scene where these guys are like really small, fighting in a briefcase
Right.
that's falling through the air. So I would probably rely on some of these CGI guys. I mean, obviously there's previs, so he does get a sense. He gets a chance to see it before they like animate the whole thing,
That's true. He's the director. He's going to get the final.
and he's going to get approval
Yeah.
and stuff. But I would watch something that they did, or you know, if they were to show me like a previs version of it, I'd be like, that looks great. Go with that.
Right.
You know, it's not really something that I would be like, well, let me I want the camera to be a little lower here, or like maybe I would have like thoughts like that, but. I mean, it's very possible he was like, perfect, let's do that, you know, and just moved on.
That's my guess. And, you know, I don't know if he had dreams of doing action movies or not, but based on his catalog, you would imagine that he's more interested in directing characters.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So.
I could see that. But then, of course, you said he doesn't do that part very well. So, you know.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it could have been the budget, but from what I saw, I felt like there was a lot of... I just felt like it was lacking a little bit.
Right. I guess I didn't really notice that too much, but I do know the scene you're talking about, and I'm going to go back and re-look at it.
It wasn't just that. There was a few, but that was the
lot.
one that came to mind.
Right. But I'll still look at that scene just to kind of see if I pick up on what you're talking about. But
the story itself, you know, was good, and Edgar Wright still gets credit for the story.
he does. Edgar Wright and Joe Cornish, yeah, they get credit for that. So that's where I was like, you know, I feel like there's certain scenes where I feel like you can just tell Edgar Wright. You can see his fingerprints. Like the fight in the little girl's bedroom, you know, where they're fighting the train, or they're on the train, and then like the train blowing up to larger size and all that stuff. I feel like that's got Edgar Wright's fingerprints on it. And some other stuff. I was trying to. There was some other scene. I can't think of it at the moment, but I know there was another one where I was watching it, and I was like, I feel like that was Edgar Wright's scene. And even before the movie started shooting, Edgar Wright, when Edgar Wright first kind of came on board, he did a kind of a test footage thing that got leaked online later on. And that scene is kind of still in the movie. It's the scene where they're in PIM technology. They're in that headquarters. And he's fighting those security guards, and he like runs along the gun.
Yeah.
And flips the guy over his shoulder and stuff. Like that was kind of the scene in the leaked footage. So I feel like even that stuff has kind of got Edgar Wright's fingerprints on it. So, and maybe there was some pre-visualization done before Edgar Wright left that Peyton Reed just kind of took over and was like, "That's good." So who knows? But yeah. So I wish we lived in a world where we could have seen Edgar Wright's Ant-Man. Not that this Ant-Man is bad by any means, but I just feel like Edgar Wright's Ant-Man would have been amazing. But unfortunately, we don't live in that world. I think about that sometimes, though, about like alternate universes, you know? I don't know if alternate universes exist or not, but I almost wish we could go visit alternate universes where these movies got made. Just to go, like, watch them on Blu-ray.
I would love to see Nicolas Cage's Superman.
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
As bad as I know it would be. But
that's what I want to see. If we ever figure out how to travel, if we find out that alternate universes exist and we can travel to them, I would pay top dollar to visit an alternate universe where I could see the Nicolas Cage Superman.
That's awesome.
I want to see that so badly. So anyway, yeah. So Edgar Wright, I've read recently, has never seen this Ant-Man and has no plans on seeing this Ant-Man. And I don't think it's necessarily because he is mad at Marvel or anything, but I think it's just because...
I can't think of... Okay, go ahead. Let me hear it.
I was going to say, I feel like when you start to direct a movie, it kind of becomes your baby. And then when you leave that, it's probably a sad experience depending on how the...
Yeah,
how the
he clearly
breakup
doesn't
happened.
want to watch it because he doesn't want to see it for whatever reason. Like,
I feel like he would watch it and be like, "Oh, I would have done it so much differently had I directed it." You know what I mean? It would have just been like a what if type thing. So I can totally understand why he hasn't seen it.
do you think he's going to regret it though when he's on his deathbed? Do you think he's going to say, "Let me watch Ant-Man"?
Let me watch it, man. They're like, okay, somebody get the Ant-Man Blu-ray. I don't know. I doubt it.
Okay.
I think he's doing just fine, that Edgar Wright.
I would imagine.
We got Baby Driver, so it's good stuff.
I need to see the trailer for this now.
You do need to see it. It looks really good. I mean, it is really good. I've seen it. The trailer makes it look good, but I've seen the movie and it's good. So, Michael, let's talk about the actors real quick. So we've got Evangeline Lilly as Hope Pym, I guess is her name.
I thought she did very well. I liked her.
I thought she was great. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually really looking forward to the sequel where she plays. Well, she'll be in costume.
When
and
I
play
saw
the
she was getting a costume, I was like, "Cool."
Yeah.
Which doesn't always happen, you know. Like,
right.
Sometimes there's characters where they promote them for the next movie, and you're like, I don't really care about their story.
Right. Or the actor changes, like in Iron Man 1, when Terrence Howard was like, "Next time, baby."
Right.
And then in the next movie, we got Don Cheadle. Although in the next movie, he did suit up. So
yeah. I liked Don Cheadle.
I do too. I think I actually like Don Cheadle more as Rhodey than Terrence Howard. So I almost wish that Don Cheadle had just been in it from the beginning.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, Michael Douglas, you know, like I mentioned earlier, that I felt like some of his things were just a little lacking, but I think still he was. I
think he was just phoning it in.
Not necessarily. I just don't think. I don't. Like I said, it felt to me like he just wasn't really getting direction, like any input maybe as to his performance, and I don't know. That's just. These are just guesses.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Obviously.
But Paul Rudd, I thought was a great pick for Ant-Man.
My favorite character in the movie, though, I have to say, is Luis, Michael Pena. Yeah, I love his character. The way he just gets excited and tells those stories, and I love those scenes. That's the other thing that I think felt very Edgar Wright-ish, was those scenes where he starts telling the story, and then it cuts to those people, and they're like mouthing the words, but it's still Luis talking.
That was yes, you're right.
Yeah,
that definitely feels I, for the most part, wasn't that fond of his character.
Okay. This is one of those examples where I wish you could have seen it in the theater with a large crowd, like on opening night. Because watching this movie in the theater on I don't know if I saw it on opening night, but I saw it like opening weekend. That crowd was loving it, and like we laughed at every time he was on screen. The crowd was cracking up, and it's different when you watch it at home, especially with somebody who's already seen it, you know. And like you didn't laugh nearly as much at the parts that I remember cracking up at in the theater,
Right.
And
I thought the which it wasn't him. I don't even know if either of the parts were, but there were two parts where I died. Oh, I remember the other one. So the other one, or the first one, was the Titanic comment about the old lady.
Right, yeah, that was good, yeah.
And then the other one was when Ant-Man lands on the car,
right,
and then grows, and
Yeah.
the guy was like reacting to that from inside. I thought that was amazing.
Bit of trivia about that scene, which you might know, is the guy that's in that taxi cab. He was on Saturday Night Live back in like the 70s, and Garrett Morris is his name. And he, the reason he's in the movie is because there was a Saturday Night Live sketch, pretty famous Saturday Night Live sketch from back then, where he played Ant-Man. And it's like a superhero party.
Okay.
You can probably find it if you search for it on SNL has an app. If you look on the app, you can probably find it. But I can't remember who's throwing the party. It's Marvel and DC superheroes together, so it might be like Superman throwing the party or something. But Incredible Hulk comes in, and Captain America probably or something comes in, and then Ant-Man shows up, and they're like, "What's your superpower again?" And he goes, "I shrink down to the size of an ant." And they're like, you know, they all start like making fun of him, you know, and stuff. So anyway, that's the reason he's got that little cameo in the movie, is because he played Ant-Man on Saturday Night Live.
Nice, that's hilarious.
Yeah. But yeah, that was the scene where Scott Lang first tries on the suit,
Right.
and that's pretty much a heart attack.
Yeah,
because you would too.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like I said when we were watching, I was like, what a terrible way to begin learning how to be this small creature. It was awful. He got thrown onto a dance floor and then sucked up in a vacuum. I mean, it was like everything that could go wrong happened.
And then thrown out of a window, basically.
Yeah, he had, I think, a better chance winning the lottery than all that stuff happening to him. But it was I liked it.
And I loved the look of those scenes too. The first time he becomes small in that bathtub, and then
oh my gosh,
on
yes,
the records and everything.
That's when I mentioned to you. I said I wish I had seen this in theater. Was the second he zoomed down into that bathtub.
Yeah, seeing it on the big screen was pretty sweet. I did write I didn't take very many notes watching it tonight, but one of my notes was their apartment is above like a nightclub, and I know it looked like maybe it was just a house party because. There's one time where Scott comes home and he like passes that level and there's people just kind of hanging out outside that door and you hear the music from inside. But when he falls into that room, it looks like a nightclub with like a dance floor.
Oh,
and stuff.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
But their apartment is above that, which is kind of weird. There was also another thing that I wrote that, speaking of things that are weird, I didn't think about it at all. The first. I don't know how many times I've seen this movie, 3 or 4 times probably. So the first few times I saw this movie, I never even thought about it. But when he's breaking into Hank Pym's house for the first time, breaking into that vault, so with the whole Titanic speech and everything, he fills it with water and then freezes it with nitrogen or whatever. And the metal starts to expand, and he unrolls an air mattress and fills up an air mattress, or inflates the air mattress, and then that air mattress is there so that when the door falls, it lands on the air mattress rather than landing on just concrete, I guess. But my thought was he didn't know that there was going to be a vault like that there. I guess he just planned for it because he brought the nitrogen, but he also thought to bring an air mattress, which is kind of weird. But maybe he has multiple uses for air mattresses.
I want to know how an air mattress... I mean, I don't know how heavy that door is.
Right. I would assume it would just make the air mattress pop.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. But maybe it would soften the blow a little. But I don't think it would do it much. Because that door was probably very heavy.
I would think so.
But anyway, I thought that was weird that he just brings an air mattress with him to his burglary. But like I said, maybe he's got multiple uses for it. Or maybe he was like, well, maybe that guy's got a Carbondale. I should bring an air mattress.
I mean, it is Hank Pym.
Oh, he didn't know that though at the time. He just thought it was an old guy with a safe.
Okay.
Old guy with a safe who's gone for a week. That was the only information he had. And then he finds out that the guy has a fingerprint scanner.
Maybe he was going to use the air mattress to surf down the hill when he was leaving or something.
I can ride this down the stairs after I grab the loot.
We didn't talk really about Darren.
Darren Cross, the villain. Right?
Yeah, I liked him a lot too.
I like that actor a lot. Corey Stoll is his name. He's been in a few things. He was on House of Cards. Mm-hmm. He's been in a couple Woody Allen movies. He's a good actor. I like him a lot, and I think that he does a great job in this film. The character kind of goes from he doesn't have a whole lot of arc. He's kind of a little crazy in the beginning to a lot crazy at the end. But I think he does a good job with it.
And I don't know if this I almost felt like there was a line that
Hope.
Yes, that Hope says that I felt was maybe a little bit of a cop out.
The particles are affecting your brain?
Yeah. And I was,
that actually brings up a question. So I do remember her saying that to him, and he, for a second, you think that he's going to be you're right, I'm not myself right. or something. But one of the reasons... So Scott asks Hank Pym at one point, why can't you just wear the suit and break into Pym technology or whatever and steal the Yellow Jacket suit? And he's like, don't you think I would if I could? He's like, I can't. And I feel like he said something about how it messed with his brain. Like he did it too many times. He was the Ant-Man too many times and it messed with his brain. Mm-hmm. Which makes me think, is Scott Lang eventually going to have to stop being Ant-Man?
If that's what was said, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so maybe they'll never bring that up again, but... And I feel like that was just a reason, somebody somewhere along the line, in making the film or writing the script or whatever, went, wait, why doesn't Hank just do it? and then they had to figure that out, and they go, oh crap, why wouldn't
either Hank that or who's the guy that plays Darren Cross?
Corey Stoll.
Or Corey Stoll's performance, just as the movie went on, just got more and more bizarre, and they're like, we need to say that explain something is happening to his mind here.
Right. Which maybe
because I was going to actually say he was the other actor that I was thinking about as far as the directing goes, because I liked a lot of his acting, but there were times too where I felt like it just wasn't the greatest.
Over the top, or
yeah, maybe. I mean, it was more like reactions to things happening that were obviously probably CGI and stuff.
Right.
So,
right.
So I don't know, but for the most part, I liked his acting. I liked his presence. I liked the costume design they picked for him, black leather and stuff like that, mm-hmm. the shaved head. He wasn't an overcomplicated villain.
Right.
He's a simple villain, but I thought he was a good one. Like we talked about in Civil War, how the villain was simple, and I thought he was a little bit weak of a character.
Right.
Which I've seen it again, and I backtrack a little bit on that.
Yeah.
But Darren Cross, I thought... was a good villain. I thought he simple but good.
Right. Yeah. I agree. He's got a very defined kind of what he wants, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to get it and everything. And I think that.
And he didn't have, aside from the Yellow Jacket costume, you shouldn't have to make a villain necessarily stand out in appearance. And I think when, and sometimes it's good. I don't want to never see it.
Right.
But when Heath Ledger did the Joker, I think a lot of people were like, oh, they took it as he was such a weird-looking character, too, so you have to make characters look weird to stand out more than the performance.
Right.
And you want the performance to really make the character stick in your mind, not
the appearance
just
of the
a flat 2D character that looks weird.
Do you have an example other than the Joker who is a villain who looks weird? Or maybe an example of a villain who looks weird but doesn't have necessarily the character depth that you were looking for?
Loki was good. He had both the look and the acting. It's a good question now that you bring it up.
Is Peter Sarsgaard in Green Lantern an example of that, where he
Yeah,
starts to become...
I could say that. You know, you deform the character
Yeah.
to try to just give more of a villainness to it, but and I like Peter Sarsgaard. You know.
Yeah, I think Peter Sarsgaard is great, and it's kind of a shame he did Green Lantern, because Green Lantern's not very good.
Yeah.
It's better. He's better than Green Lantern.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree with that. Bane from Batman and Robin.
All right, good example. Good example. So this is something you asked during the film, and I don't have an answer for it, but I thought it was something we should point out. Is when in a great scene where Ant-Man is supposed to break into what Hank thinks is one of Howard Stark's old storage facilities, which is now, of course, one of the Avengers, if not the Avengers' new base in New York. It's one of the Avengers' new bases. And
now, I was kind of having to get up and down during the scene, I remember.
Right, you missed one of the best parts, which is...
oh, it sucks.
Yeah, it's... so when he lands on the building, Falcon shows up. And Ant-Man goes, "It's okay, he can't see me." And Falcon goes, "I can see you." And he goes, "He can see me." And he blows back up to normal size, and he opens up his hood, and he goes, "Hi, I'm Scott." And Hope just like looks at Hank, and she goes, "Did he just say, 'Hi, I'm Scott'?" So you missed that part, which I think it made me laugh really hard when I saw it in the theater. But anyway, the point of this is that when he's fighting Falcon, eventually they go into the base. And Hank makes an announcement that he's lost visual. And you brought this up, and I think this is a very good point. Why doesn't... Hank has all this technology at his fingertips. He's like, he's kind of like Tony Stark in that... I mean, he maybe doesn't have quite as much money as Tony Stark, but he's got the know-how to build all this crazy different technology and everything. And he's got visual somewhere. He's got a camera on some ant. Why didn't he build like a camera into the helmet or something of Ant-Man's suit? Like, why has he lost visual?
And that would have, I think, actually been some good footage.
Yeah.
Of just a, FOV shot of Ant-Man.
Right. From his helmet.
Kind of the opposite of Tony Stark. We get an inside shot of Tony.
Right.
But you'd have like a, I'm sure you've heard of Mirror's Edge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Mirror's Edge style.
Kind of first-person type thing.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, so I thought that was kind of weird. That's a oversight on Hank Pym's part, that he didn't put a camera in the Ant-Man helmet.
Yeah.
Way to go, Hank Pym. Way to go.
You can't think of everything.
You can't think of everything, I guess. There is one other thing I wanted to bring up, which was the music in the film. So when this movie was... maybe it was when it was in pre-production... They talked about how Winter Soldier was a political thriller. So it was kind of a Marvel's version of a political thriller. They mentioned that Ant-Man was Marvel's version of a heist film. And I think that is very accurate. That's actually one of the things I really like about it. Is I haven't seen that many heist films, but the heist films I have seen I've really liked. And this movie has a lot of the same elements to it, and the music I think really works to that. In that favor of being a heist film. And so the music, I forget who composed the music. I can look that up real quick. The music was by Christoph Beck. Christoph Beck. I'm not really sure what else he's done, but I really liked it a lot.
I honestly can't say that I remember any of the music.
Okay.
But I know that it didn't, the fact that I didn't even, this is going to sound weird, but the fact that I didn't even pick up on it is not necessarily a bad thing.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
It's like a thread of the movie.
Right.
I didn't feel like sometimes pieces of music that I don't think fit well will
stand out
and
ruin
take me out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Didn't ever have that. I felt like the action scenes worked well, and that would mean that the music was working.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't. It's actually funny because I don't really recall necessarily a piece of music during an action scene. I just remember the music for basically like Ant-Man's theme, which happens during the end credits and the beginning of the film and stuff. And there's a little bit of music during some of the like heist preparation scenes, kind of those montages and stuff that I remember. But yeah, I liked it, and I just felt like we needed to.
I didn't even
point
think
it out.
about that though. That's a good point. I knew about Winter Soldier being a political thriller, but I didn't even think about them doing other
Genres,
which
Yeah.
is pretty cool, actually. Neat.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. I feel like with as many movies as as Marvel puts out, I feel like you have to kind of get into other things, because eventually, if you just keep doing the same type of movie over and over again, you're just going to eventually bore your audience. And so it's kind of nice that they introduce new characters and decide to go kind of different routes with them, you know?
The Guardians would be your sci-fi, like your traditional sci-fi.
Right,
It's
right,
technically all sci-fi, but
Right. I guess, yeah, technically. But yeah, it's Guardians was the first, aside from Thor, maybe was the first like cosmic, addition or whatever to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So yeah, absolutely, that would be kind of your sci-fi, also very comedic sci-fi comedy, I guess.
right.
But so yeah, and it's interesting that they did that with Captain America too. You know, they had Captain America: First Avenger, which is actually kind of a war movie.
Yes, right. It's like a war period piece.
Yeah, and then they do I'm getting confused. Then they do Winter Soldier, which is a political thriller, and then Civil War, I guess, is just Civil War. I don't know really how you would categorize that one, but yeah, I thought that was kind of neat how they did that.
Civil War, in my opinion, is really Avengers 2.5.
It is. It's it has so many characters in it that it really is just Avengers 2.5.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I guess we could get into the ratings.
Yeah, I can't think of anything. You go ahead first.
Well, when I first saw this movie, like I said, I really liked it, but I was looking at my Flickster rating of it, because I tend to go into Flickster and give a movie. They only have a 5-star rating system, but you can do half stars. I tended to rate every movie I see in the theater, and I gave it 4 stars, 4 out of 5, which I would assume is probably around a B+. But watching it again and having seen it multiple times now, I feel like I really like it. Like, I think it's one of, it's up there in my opinion with the first Avengers and Iron Man, and there was another one I was going to say as being in my top Marvel movies. Honestly,
I would agree with that. It's the one under. It's like underneath all those.
yeah,
But I agree. It's up there in the quality.
yeah.
I really enjoyed it too.
Yeah. So I think my rating is going to be, I want to say an A-, but I feel like the last 2 or 3 movies we've talked about, I've given an A-.
Yeah, but don't let that affect you.
Yeah, I know. It shouldn't. I just feel like people are going to listen and be like, this guy gives everything an A-.
Well, that's how I am with my 4 stars.
That's true. But that's kind of what I want to give it. I'm going to give it an A-, I think. So.
Okay. Yeah, because I was going to give it 4 stars.
Yeah.
And which is, I was thinking about this, and I like superhero movies, so usually I wouldn't say I liked superhero movies if I didn't like most superhero movies.
Right.
And I like most superhero movies more than, the average movie.
Right.
So I would say 4 stars would kind of be expected, I think, for at least 75% of the superhero movies out there, in my opinion.
I feel like for me, I like superheroes so much, or superhero movies so much, that my initial reaction can never be trusted.
I kind of agree with you on that with me.
Yeah.
Not for you, but now granted, when we did Man of Steel, our very first episode, I remember mentioning that I thought that it could maybe outdo The Dark Knight.
You're right.
Which is not true.
Right.
But I think my like for the movie has gone up even more.
Oh, wow.
Since I I almost love Man of Steel.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, see, I've had the opposite thing happen. Well, I guess, it kind of happened with Man of Steel for you. I mean, you said it's gone up, but you don't consider it quite as good as The Dark Knight now, which was your initial reaction. But, like, Hulk is a good example, where I saw Hulk in the theater, and I loved it, and I saw it a couple of times, and now I'm like, wow, this is hard to sit through. And Green Lantern is even an example of that. When I first saw Green Lantern, I knew it had problems. I could tell, after watching it, being like, yeah, it's not great. But I think it was just because I was also just really excited about finally having a live-action Green Lantern. I went and saw that one, like, at least twice in the theater. And I watched it. The last time I watched it was for the podcast. So it was our second episode. So it was like 4 years ago or something.
wow.
And it was kind of hard to sit through.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel like my initial reaction for superhero movies can never really be trusted, which is funny that sometimes we do episodes on movies that are in theater, because it'd be interesting to go back and listen to some of these and be like, I don't know if I feel that way anymore.
Right. But that's okay, because I think, and I think we should point out maybe if it is our first reaction,
Right.
that, because
take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, because it's interesting, I think, to hear if we have the opportunity of a first reaction
Right.
thing, then, yeah, we might. But I think for the most part, most of the movies we do, especially for you,
Yeah.
you've already seen.
Right.
I'd say about 75% for me I've seen as well.
Right.
Especially when we start going into the non-superhero movie stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Most of those are going to be ones that we pick based on nostalgia or a following.
Right.
And we've probably already seen it.
So I think next week we're going to dive into a non-superhero film, which you mentioned it today that you wanted to do it, and I don't remember why. So the movie we were talking about doing is Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow, which I admit I don't think I've seen all the way through since we saw it in the theater.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember.
Now, this one might be one of those ones where we
It
go
might
back
be.
and watch. But I remember, well, we'll talk about it later. But, yeah, so what it was, what brought it up was I was noticing a lot of the CGI environments in Ant-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember thinking how commonplace that is now. And how Sky Captain was, to my knowledge, I remember reading when it was coming out, that it was the first movie to have an entire CGI set.
Yeah.
Like everything, every environment in that movie, the floors,
I think, everything.
everything is CGI.
It was
except for the characters.
Right, yeah. It was the first, I believe it was the very first film to be shot completely on green screen. Because I remember seeing some behind-the-scenes footage of Gwyneth Paltrow and Jude Law, like, sitting in a car. Well, it was supposed to be a car, but they were just sitting on green boxes, and I think they gave her, like, a steering wheel. It might have even been a green screen, like, steering wheel or a circle or something. And then they put in the car later and all that. So, yeah, it was before, Sin City is all green screen, and so it's not quite commonplace to have a completely green screen movie, but so much of it is, so much of movies nowadays is green screen that, yeah, Sky Captain was the very first one to be completely green screen. So, yeah, I think that'll be the movie we do next episode. We'd love to hear what you think about the film. You can always comment on our website, www.cinemaheroes.com. You can leave us a comment on Facebook, facebook.com/SM and SM podcast, or you can tweet at us on Twitter @CinemaHeroes. I think that about wraps it up for this episode. I'm Justin Speck.
And I'm John Pelzel.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading.